tired of city living? You tired of people telling you what you can and can't do? You tired of not being able to do things you want to do when you want to do them? You want to do things like, or what you need to do, man, is sell that house, get some acreage out in the country, and ditch that city life. Y'all smell that? That smells like freedom, man. Awesome. I just spent like the last 15 minutes talking to this camera. Went to go look at the video and the damn thing wasn't even recording. What the heck? Hey, I'm Mike. I guess I'll go through everything again. Here we go. So I like freedom. Do you like freedom? I like freedom. We literally did sell. Came to a point in our life where tired of the rat race, tired of society and what it's become. So we made the decision to sell the house in Washington and move and leave it all behind. So here we are in East Texas, 17 acres, starting a homestead. We are lucky enough to be able to do this. We're going to build 2 houses. We're going to do a 2-family homestead with my brother-in-law and sister-in-law and their family. So they're also selling their house in San Antonio. And we're going to pool our proceeds together and get her done. But yeah, I'm going to be doing videos along the way, so you guys can join in the journey. And if this is a lifestyle or something that you're considering doing, hopefully you can learn something from our journey. I'll share some stuff of what we've learned so far. We just got the property a couple days ago, and we've already learned so much. Just in the land buying process and land search process, and we've learned a lot. So I'm happy to share that with everyone. Yeah, so East Texas, we chose East Texas. We chose unincorporated area that there's no building restrictions. My brother-in-law is a contractor by trade, so we're going to be doing a lot of the labor ourselves, what we can. We are going to contract some stuff out, like concrete, the slabs. But other than that, the well drilling, we will contract out. But other than that, we're going to be doing most of the stuff ourselves. We're building Quonset hut homes. So if you don't know what those are, Google them. Super strong against adverse weather. Cheaper than a brick and mortar house, or a stick house, whatever you want to call it. And you can frame them out just like any house. But that's what we're going with, and we're super excited about it. So I'll give you a quick tour of the property, and as I'm doing that, I'll kind of share some of the stuff we learned along the way, and how we ended up on this property. And again, we have 17 acres. The clearing that you see here, it's about 2 acres. So it's nice. It's, you know, you see the driveway there, and we're on a quiet county road. Really, besides the few people that live on this road, really nobody drives up and down it. It's really quiet, but we love the tree line, kind of keeping things out of sight up here where we're going to be living. Security was a big part of our criteria. So we like that. We like being kind of tucked away out of sight. Other things, you know, when you're looking for land, it is your responsibility. Something in my eye. It's your responsibility as the buyer to verify and check everything before you buy the property. Does it have power? Is power at the street even? If it's not, do you need to work out a deal with the neighbors for easements? We did. Is there water? How are you going to get water? Where is city water? How much is it going to cost to get it to your place? Or are you going to dig a well? What's that going to cost? How are you going to live in the meantime? That's how I'm living. I'll be staying on the property while we build. My wife and son will be in an apartment about 20 minutes up the road in the nearest city. And I'm expecting about 3 months build time on the first one. And then probably another 3 months to get my brother-in-law's built. He has a septic license, so we're blessed in that regard. So he's going to do the septic systems. And it really helps us that we're pooling our money together, because that's one thing to consider if you're considering the homestead lifestyle. The upfront cost can be massive. But the way we're looking at it, it's an investment, right? It's an investment in quality of life for the rest of your life, hopefully. We were blessed in the regard that real estate prices in Washington, because of the tech boom, skyrocketed. We bought our place before that happened, and so that was a blessing. When we sold, we made a couple bucks, enough to where we're going to be able to, you know, do this, get land paid for, build. We were able to pay off our cars. So we're not going to have a mortgage payment. We're not going to have car payments. We're just going to have utilities and insurance and food and stuff like that. But that will allow us, you know, I don't have to have a fancy corporate job that's taking years off my life. Before we did this, I was working in corporate America for doing sales, and the last company I was with, the 8 years that I was there, probably, I hate to say it, but probably took 15 years off my life. And it just wasn't worth it to me anymore. So you kind of wrap all that up into one. In my opinion, society is kind of collapsing. Sad to say that. And so we wanted to get out of the urban environment. And, you know, in my opinion, killing yourself for a corporation that will replace you at the drop of a dime just didn't sit well with me anymore. The money was great, but it's not worth it's not worth a heart attack. So yeah. All right, now that the days of our lives are over, well, hopefully not, but you get the reference, I think, depending on how old you are. Let's take a tour of the property. A quick tour. A lot of it is trees. And that's something to think about as you're looking for property, is clearing. We wanted a mix of some clearing already done, because land clearing is expensive, and if you try to do it yourself with rented equipment, it's still a lot of work, and equipment rental adds up as well. So we wanted a mix of clearing already done. You can see we have our 2-acre clearing. So that was huge. That was actually a huge selling point of this property for us. We're out of the floodplain, so ask your realtor if the property's in the floodplain. But it also has trees. We also wanted trees. We have a lot of future plans. We are going to do some more clearing down the road and do things like little mini fruit orchards with fruit trees, some nut producing trees, walnuts, who knows, pecans grow around here like crazy, so probably some pecans. We're going to do gardening, vegetables, stuff like that. But yeah, we definitely have plans, but we wanted some clearing, some trees. So take that into account. Soil, you may not have much of a choice, but we have a nice, we call it a sandy loam. So for septic systems, that's about perfect. If you get too much clay, that's going to be more expensive because clay doesn't drain well. And then if you have too much rock, that also requires a very specific type of septic system, and it's not cheap. So things to keep in mind when you're looking for land. What you see over there, that is base camp. You do not see that garbage pile. Look away. Look away. I said look away. You don't see the garbage pile, but yeah, this is base camp. This is my 12 by 20 Alaknak tent from Cabela's.com. It's an expensive tent, but I'm going to be living in it for, gosh, I'm estimating 3 months. So it's basically the size of an apartment, a small apartment, but maybe a studio apartment. But I've got to finish up a couple things on it. It's got a stove jack in it. So I got a wood stove in there. And it's got a place for the chimney to come out. So you can see in there. It's good size. I put those stones down on the ground just so no embers or whatever burn holes in the floor of the tent. I said you don't see the garbage pile. Gosh, guys, come on. There's the laminator. Yeah! 415 horsepower. Pure, unadulterated American fury. Yeah! I'm a goofball, sorry. Laminator! Hey. That's the one nice thing about having acreage. You can be a goofball, be loud. There ain't nobody around here. Even if there was, F them. They're skiddy. So I rented the skid steer loader. We rented the skid steer loader for the next week. And I'm going to be using it for the driveway. Tomorrow we have 5 full dump trucks of gravel coming and a culvert pipe. I'll take you down the driveway here in a second. Right now the property does not have power or water. So things to think about when you're looking for your property. So there's the skid steer loader. I'm not a professional, to be honest. Today was my first day ever operating one. Don't be scared of them. Super easy to pick up. I watched YouTube videos ahead of time to get a basic idea of what to do. The newer ones are just 2 joysticks. There used to be foot pedals involved, which even then it wasn't rocket science by any means. But the newer ones, it's literally 2 joysticks. One moves the tracks. One does the boom and the bucket. So don't be scared of them. I'm going to use it to level out the driveway, dig some ditches for the culvert pipe and other ditches for water. And then up here in the clearing, I'm going to use the bucket to scrape off the top layer of brush. Probably clear out some trees and stuff too. Do I see something over there? Is that a deer? I can't tell if I see something over there or not. Probably not. I know we do have pigs out here. I joke about shooting deer, but I'm gonna leave the deer alone. If I see pigs though, they're going down. I don't see anything over there. My eyes were playing tricks on me. It's the old age. But there are deer tracks all over the property, and the neighbors have told me there are pigs out here, so if I do see some pigs, we're having pork shoulder, a lot of it. Back to the skid steer loader. Don't be scared of them. I chose one with tracks versus wheels, just because I have some soft ground to cover. Wheels are more prone to getting stuck. Tracks kind of spread that weight out over a bigger surface area. So for softer ground, it's a couple more bucks to rent them versus the wheel versions. But if you have soft ground, I highly recommend getting a skid steer loader that's on tracks. Most people know them as Bobcats, but that's a Bobcat is an actual brand name. This one's not a Bobcat per se, but same idea. It's a skid steer loader. So I'll be doing some work with that puppy. They're a lot of fun, to be honest. So that's a small enough and basic enough piece of equipment that you can pick it up in 5-10 minutes and learn what you're doing. I will share, the biggest thing you want to be conscious of is that bucket in your boom. Center of gravity, a lot of people tip them by having that bucket and boom too far up. So if you're going up an incline, or if you have too much weight in the bucket, don't have the boom and the bucket way up above your eye level or whatever. You're going to get off balance, and that's how people roll them. So keep your bucket or your center of gravity as close to the ground as you can while you're moving them, or while you're working in general. And for all the pros out there, when you see me operating it later in the videos, shut it. Like I said, I'm not a contractor, I'm not a laborer. This is my first time doing a lot of this stuff. I guess I would consider myself handy, and I pick stuff up quick, and I'm able-bodied, so I've got that going for me. But I'm not a pro by any means. A lot of this stuff is my first time doing it, so I guess if you want to hate, hate. Haters gonna hate, right? Motto of the day, F 'em. F 'em. Don't be scared. Don't be scared to do what you want to do. Be safe, but don't be scared. So here's the driveway. We're going to gravel. I mean, for now we're going to do more gravel up top, but for now we're going to do gravel up to the top where it kind of Y's here. So here's the driveway. You can see down there the low spot. That's the really soft, wet ground. So I've got a 18-inch by 20-foot long culvert pipe coming tomorrow. And I'm basically going to kind of use the skid steer loader to dig out a dip. You want the top of the pipe sitting about level with the grade of the driveway. And then you cover it back up with the gravel. And that will allow the water to keep flowing. It does slowly flow this direction. So that will allow it to keep flowing underneath the driveway and not wash away the gravel, or it won't pool up or too much over here. So I've got some work to do with the skid steer loader. My concrete guy grew up around here. He said be aware of snakes, especially in these swampy areas, water moccasins, stuff like that. So I will be heeding his advice, looking out for snakes. But you can see, I mean, even coming in and out of here a few times with the Raminator. Raminator! It's pretty soft. Try not to lose a boot here. We'll walk through it together. Try not to lose a boot here. Because what's that all a boot? Shameless Canada joke. Over here, kind of this is where the trickle of water kind of empties into, so we got to figure out, do we want to remove this mound? Do we want that to flow somewhere else? We're eventually going to dig out a pond somewhere over here. We've got quite a bit of land that goes that way, even past the trees. So we definitely want a pond over there at some point. Stock it with some catfish. And yeah, got some work ahead of us, but we love it. But yeah, this is the driveway. Hey, we've got our, today, we've got our first broken down piece of equipment on the property, so that makes us country, right? Yeah. Tire went out today. I went to go get firewood, loaded it up with firewood, and luckily the tire didn't go out until we were on my little county road, so I was able to limp home at like 5 miles an hour, and I only had to go the equivalent of a couple blocks, so it wasn't bad. But until I change that tire, there she be. But we got firewood though. We got a few pieces of firewood. So yeah, I'll show you what I'm talking about with power. Do your due diligence. We had to work out a deal. To be honest, we had to work out a financial transaction with one of the neighbors for them to be willing to sign the easement form for power, because we're going to have to branch off of their transformer that's on their property. And the power company required an easement form for that to happen. So when we first came out to the property, we could have swore there were power lines along the road. So we came out to the property a second time to do some measurements, and we were looking around, and I was like, Michael, I don't see power lines. I could have swore there were power lines. And he was like, I don't see them either. So that's when we went and talked to the neighbor and found out that the whole deal with power, nobody around us or nobody around the previous owners would work with them for power for whatever reason. But we did find a neighbor that was willing to work with us. So peak, no power lines. So the neighbor over there, we're going to branch off of her transformer and run overhead lines down the right of way here and up the driveway to within about 150 feet of the build sites, and then we can go underground from there to the houses. But really pay attention to that when you're looking for your land. Do you see power lines? Is it on somebody's property? Are you going to need an easement? Same thing with water. Is there city water nearby? City water for us is about a quarter mile up the road, and was gonna, it was just cost prohibitive to have the water company do the underground digging to get it here. At that point, we may as well just dig a well. So that's what we're gonna do. Should have that in a few weeks, hopefully. In our area, they're going to have to go about 450 feet down for the well to get to the quote-unquote clean water. There's a water table at 350 feet down, but supposedly it's full of iron. So they're going to have to, once they get to that water table, they have to basically cement cap at that level so it doesn't leach down into the good water, and then they have to go down about another 100 feet to about 450 feet down. So well drilling is going to be a big expense for us. Again, luckily we have 2 families to split that expense with, but again, things to think about and work out ahead of time so you know what you're getting yourself into. Because I have a feeling from what I see on Facebook and stuff that a lot of people like us, they just get so enamored with the thought of having your own property that they get excited and rush forward and then get hit with all these expenses and roadblocks and get frustrated. I think that's kind of what happened with the people that sold us this property, is they started getting expenses that were piling up or roadblocks that were slowing them down, and they got frustrated and just decided to buy a conventional house. Works for us. We were lucky enough to have... I definitely hear something over there. There's something out there in them bushes. Probably a deer. Huh. But yeah, luckily, you know, 2 families pooling our money together, we were able to make it happen. So thank God. But I'm going to go hop on the skid steer loader, have some fun with whatever daylight I have left. And then tomorrow, get started on this gravel driveway and the culvert. The gravel guy says that he can lay down 5 dump trucks full of gravel in one day. So that's awesome. But I definitely need to do a little bit more clearing down there to make it a little bit wider and get stuff ready for him. So if you guys don't mind, I got work to do. I'll set up the tripod and let you guys watch and make fun of me or whatever. Whatever. If you're so perfect, why don't you do it? All right, here we go.